Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahabiryam Karavavahai Tejasvinabadhetamastu ma vidvisha bahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Medha Devi Jushamana na agaad Vishwachi Bhadra Sumanasya mana Tvaya Jushta Nudamana Duruktaan Brihad Badema Bidathe Subira Tvaya Jushta Rishir Bhavati Devi Tvaya Brahma Gata Shri Rutatvaya Tvaya Jushtaschitram Vindate Vasusano Jushasvadravino Namedhe Medham Indro Dadatu Medhan Devi Saraswati Medham me Ashvina Bhubhava Dhattang Pushkarasraja Apsarasu Chaya Medha Gandharveshu Chayan Manaha Daivi Medha Saraswati Samaham Medha Surabhir Jushatagaswaha Amam Medha Surabhir Vishwabrupa Hiranyavarna Jagati Jagamya Urjasvati Payasa Pinvamana Samaham Medha Supratika Jushantam. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. Sangachadvang Sangvadadvang Sangbo Manangsi Janatam Deva Bhagai Yatha Purve Sanjanana Upasate Samano Mantra Samiti Samani Samanam Manasaha Chittame Esham Samanam Mantram Abhimantra Eva Samanena Vo Havisha Ajuhomi Samani ba'akuti samana hridayani baha Samanamastu bhomano yatha vassu sahasati. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
A hearty welcome to you all to the inaugural session of the seminar commemorating the 125th anniversary of the Ramakrishna mission. I request the Secretary of the Institute, Revered Swami Suparnandaji Maharaj, to felicitate the esteemed dignitaries on the dais and deliver his welcome speech.
Om Jananing Sharadang Deving Ramakrishnam Jagat Gurum Padapadmitayo Sritva Pranamami. My hearty welcome to you all. So we have organized an international seminar on Swami Vivekananda's concept of divinity in man and practical Vedanta, very important concept, on the occasion of the 125th anniversary of Ramakrishna mission. So we have been carrying out the programs, I should say, on how we can manifest divinity in us for the last 125 years or so. I welcome in our midst Srimat Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj, the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. Among the speakers today and tomorrow, we have several Swamis. Swami Balabhadranaji Maharaj, he would be speaking tomorrow. I welcome him well in advance. Swami Tyaganandaji of US, he will be speaking online. Swami Bodhabhayanandaji, we are expecting him to reach our premises tonight. He will be speaking tomorrow. And Swami Atmapriyanandaji, he is with us in the audience. We have Swami Hori Brahmendranandaji Tirtharaj from Uttar Kashi. He arrived yesterday. We have Mario Martin Luis of St. Xavier's University, Al-Hajj Mufti Abdullah, Dr. O.P. Bharma, Professor Somnath Mukherjee, Somnath Bhattacharya, Professor Srimati Mukherjee, Dr. Indrajit Rai, UK, and Swami Atmapriyanandaji Maharaj. Atmapriyanandaji is expected anytime because of some traffic trouble. He is held up on the road. I welcome them all. My cordial welcome to our teacher like, respected Professor Radharaman Chakrabarti. He will be proposing a vote of thanks tonight. Now a few words about the topic itself, Swamiji's concept of divinity in man and practical Vedanta. So what he has done practically, he initiated a movement, and that I clarified, that I just uttered in the beginning. It is the movement of manifesting our innate divinity, innate purity, which we have lost. We have to regain it. Through what? Through pure karma. Because pure karma, pure work, would produce pure mind, Shuddha Man. And Shuddha Man will result in Shuddha Buddhi, Shuddha intellect, pure intellect. And pure intellect will ultimately help us visualize our divine nature, divinity, Shuddha Atman. And Sri Ramakrishna has given us this running equality. Pure mind, Shuddha Man, Shuddha Buddhi, and Shuddha Atma, they are one and the same. But he has kept the beginning open. How do we have the Shuddha mind? How to have the Shuddha mind? The Swamiji explained it through undertaking Shuddha Karma. the karma behind which there is no personal motive, unselfish karma, karma done for others, done in the spirit of service. That karma we have to take up. Maharaj, hearty welcome to you. We have just begun. So goal before us is to create a Vedantic society of freedom, number one. Number two, the Vedantic society of equity. And number three, the sacredness of human personality. It has the likeness of the proposed goals of the champions of Renaissance, equity, freedom and fraternity. But there is a gulf of difference. Because of this difference, equity, freedom and fraternity didn't materialize in our world. Because by equity they only mean equity in possession, equity in wealth, dhano samya. Freedom means freedom of speech and thought, expression of speech and thought, very skin deep. And fraternity, about fraternity, we have nothing to say more, because if we have equity and freedom, fraternity will automatically follow. But in Swamiji's case, when he says that we have to create a Vedantic society of freedom, that means we have to have freedom, which would entail us to freedom from the senses and not freedom of the senses. In case of Renaissance, that freedom was freedom of the senses. You let go your sense organs to enjoy. But here, it is a freedom from the senses. You have to curb any sort of inordinate desire from your life. So that is Vedantic freedom. Vedantic society based on freedom which we explain, generally we explain in Vedanta, we take up the issue in Vedanta, that freedom from the senses. And Vedantic society of equity, that equity is not equity or equality in possession of wealth, not that. It is equity, oneness. We have to explore that. The entire universe, the physical universe, is one. And Swamiji claims that during his time, that science has made this unity in the physical world, in matter. Science has discovered unity in matter, but it would never be possible for science to bring out unity in man. Unity in man would have to be discovered by religion, and religion did it. Because we have body, it is true in a sense. Those who are dualists, they approve it. We have mind, a higher truth, and we have intellect, still higher truth, but the highest is Atman, which we experience in deep sleep. There is no idea of mind and other material things that we used to enjoy in waking state and in dream state also. So this is the condition. So freedom. Equity, we are all equal as divinity, as purity. And this oneness of existence we have to consider in both macrocosm and microcosm. Because Swamiji says that if you want to know this table, you have to know it with reference to yourself. Because ultimately this table, the ultimate particle of this table will not linger with the table itself. It go outside the table, outside space, and it would be lost somewhere else, which the scientists have no idea to guess even. They say, we do not know where it has gone, but this much we can say that this world, this big world, big universe in its smallest unit has gone out of our fist. We cannot catch it. But here Swamiji says that where has it gone? It has gone to your prana. So the external universe has entered us. And in that very sense, the external universe and the internal universe, external nature and nature internal, they both are one in their ultimate state, and it is consciousness itself. So this equity is the goal of Swamiji. And we have to prove it, we have to manifest it, and the process we have just delineated. Because the sacredness of human personality, we are all potentially divine. It is nothing but potentially, we are potentially divine. And during the last 125 years, we have been struggling for the new way of life to take place. A life engaged in doing service in the spirit of sacrifice for attaining this freedom and this equity. It is a difficult task to create a Vedantic society of freedom, equity and sacredness of human personality, no doubt. And we know Shankaracharya, even though we may say that for the first time Swamiji wanted to create, or yes, wanted to introduce practical Vedanta in our society, we can well imagine Shankaracharya himself tried to create a Vedantic society. His goal was that only. He established 4 centers, mats, on the 4 corners of India, and wanted to disseminate this idea only. But society was not ready. That we all know. But now in Swamiji's times also, our society was hostile towards Vedanta. That is a big story. And from Bengal, from India, this Vedanta has been ousted from their mind. Vedanta has been left out from the very beginning of our Renaissance movement. That was not their concern to take up the issue of Vedanta, while re-establishing Hindu faith. They did it without Vedanta. But Swamiji later on, you know, took up Vedanta alone. Vedanta is the answer. They made the mistakes, and Swamiji pointed these mistakes out. And Swamiji, as you know, he puts everything in terms of science and thereby created a scientific religion, which he called Vedanta, for the future world. So our goal is to establish this Vedantic principles, Vedantic religion, which is a scientific religion. We are not going to assume away the role of science as such. Today's main speaker is Swami Atmapriyanandaji. We Swamis in the Ramakrishna order of monks are all qualified enough to speak on Vedanta and science more or less efficiently, I should say. But Swami Atmapriyanandaji is someone I feel who is specially commissioned by the divine to take up this issue squarely and explain it in a unique way. I have heard him speak several times. Every time I found some new light. When he spoke on some aspects of science and Vedanta, a full-length lecture I could not receive from him. That's why, from the very beginning, I wanted to know much from him. And I would request him to do it with genuine interest. He has an advantage over others because he read higher physics, did his PhD, served one of the best colleges in Chennai as a teacher of physics before joining the order of monks of Ramakrishna. During his entire monastic life, he read scriptures, especially Vedanta, and has been preaching scientific spirituality in a very convincing way. But for me, the story is quite different. My knowledge in modern science is not that pedantic, but I got wonderstruck when I first read only one sentence of Swamiji. One sentence. That is, the Absolute has become this universe by coming into space, time and causation. That's all. In such a brief way, the entire truth behind science and religion could be explained, could be stated. It is a real wonder. I was really wonderstruck. That means science should never be able to find out the truth. They are dealing with matter, but ultimately matter will go out of their control. So, universe, when looked at through, or the Absolute when looked at through space, Absolute when it is looked at through space, it becomes divided. So within space it is divided, and beyond space it is absolute. So absolute has become this divided universe by coming to space. So within space everything is divided, beyond space is undivided. And science is finding out the truth only within space. So they would get the divided and they would get the relative and never the absolute. And time. Within time everything is changing and beyond time is unchanged. Absolute. And science will make it search for the real in this universe through time. So they will end up with only the relative, the changing aspect of this universe and nothing else. And causation, STC. Causation. Within causation, everything is subject to death and birth. And beyond causation is unborn. So that which is unborn has become this finite by coming to causation. That means the joint operation of space, time and causation would make this universe completely relative. And the absolute is unborn, akhanda, changeless, ajor, sanatan, and unborn. Unborn means ajato, ojo, no jayotijo, ojo. So this is the difficulty. This much we have experienced, at least intellectually. And you know, Swamiji discovered this, Swamiji said this, explained this, much before Einstein declared that the world, the universe is a relative. Mitta, Jagat Mitta. Which is true, he could not say. At least truth is not in this universe. Where it is not known. And scientists could not know that. And joint operation of this is nothing but Maya, the screen of Maya. That which was absolute becomes relative, the universe, when seen through the screen of space, time and causation. So this one statement of Vedanta, that Brahma Sattva Jagat Mithya, has been proved by at least partially proved by Einstein. So this is the scientific support behind the relativity of this universe. And next part of Vedantic truth, that this Maya, this screen of space, time and causation, this can make everything impossible possible. Maya is Agaton Ghatan Patiyasi, an expert in making something possible which is otherwise impossible. Maya solve korte pare. Everything is possible, everything is uncertain. That part has been taken up by Heisenberg. He knows very well. I made only just statement. Superficially we understand this, but an in-depth study could be made by an expert like Swami Atmapriyanandaji. So details of this scientific religion, I and you also, we are all eager to hear from Swami Atmapriyanandaji 1,000 kudos to him for accepting our request to speak on the topic chosen by us. So I welcome you all again, the devotees and the sadhus, and I welcome revered General Secretary Maharaj once again. Thank you. Namaste.
I offer my respectful pranams to the revered General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, Srimat Swami Suviranandaji Maharaj, and the Pro-Chancellor of the Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, Srimat Swami Atmapriyanandaji Maharaj, who have graciously come here to address us all on this occasion. My pranams also to other revered monks who have come here to speak during the academic sessions or have come here to witness the event, and my namaskars to Professor Radharaman Chakrabarti on the dais and to everyone else in the gathering. I take the liberty to read out to you some pertinent passages gleaned and adapted from the introduction to the book, The Story of the Ramakrishna Mission, brought out by Advaita Ashrama in the year 2006. The story of the Ramakrishna Mission is a story of its many years of loving service to humanity, or in the words of Swami Vivekananda, service to that God who by the ignorant is called man. Since the Ramakrishna Mission is inseparably linked to Ramakrishna Math, this is also the story of Ramakrishna Math. And since the message of Sri Ramakrishna has been spreading in ever-widening circles through and beyond the two mentioned institutions, this is the story of Ramakrishna movement as well. The story of Ramakrishna Mission, Math and movement is not to be taken as mere history. History mostly deals with the outer happenings of men and institutions, whereas story deals with the inner dynamics of a movement. It is the unfolding of a truth, a power through men and institutions. Swami Vivekananda has stated that at the interval of every 500 years, a new set of universal ideas appear in some part of the globe. These ideas manifest themselves through an extraordinary person, known as a prophet or avatar. Speaking about the function of a prophet, Swamiji says, he focuses in his own mind the thought of the age in which he is living and gives it back to mankind in concrete form. This was what Sri Ramakrishna, who is regarded as the avatar of the present age by millions of people, did. He came with a message, a new set of ideas suited to the needs of the age. He first applied it in his own life and charged it with power. He trained a group of young disciples to be the torch-bearers of his message, and through them laid the foundation of a new monastic order. The spiritual power generated by Sri Ramakrishna through his unprecedented sadhanas and prayers got transmitted to different parts of India and the world through his direct disciples. Subsequently, through the successive generations of disciples, the message and power of Sri Ramakrishna have been spreading in ever-widening circles to form what may be termed the Ramakrishna movement. The story of Ramakrishna Math began when Sri Ramakrishna climbed to the terrace of the house in Dakshineshwar and called out, "O my children, wherever you are, come to me, my heart yearns to see you." This happened after he had completed the practice of various spiritual disciplines and people had started coming to him. In response to that mystic call, Young spiritual seekers, most of whom were studying in school or college, began to gather around him. Under his guidance, they practiced intense spiritual disciplines. He instilled in their minds the spirit of monastic renunciation and also brotherly love for one another. Among them, the master designated Narendra, who later became the world-renowned Swami Vivekananda, to be the leader of the group. After the master's passing in August 1886, these young disciples started living in a dilapidated house at Baranago in North Calcutta. A few months later, they took the formal vows of sannyasa, assumed new names, and thus formed a new monastic order, which came to be later known as Ramakrishna Mutt. The monastery was moved 6 years later to another place in Alam Bazar, and from there it was finally moved to its own permanent premises at Belur in 1898. Unlike the Ramakrishna Mutt, which is purely monastic order, the Ramakrishna Mission is a social service society in which the monks of the Ramakrishna Mutt and lay supporters cooperate in conducting different forms of social service such as running schools, hospitals, rural development, etc. It was founded by Swami Vivekananda on 1st May 1897, soon after his return from the West. The original idea probably was that the mission would be managed by lay devotees, but since this did not materialize, owing to the unfavorable socio-economic condition of the society, the monks of the Ramakrishna order took over the administration of the mission also. The Ramakrishna Mission came to be registered as a charitable society in the year 1909. We earnestly look forward to the revered General Secretary Maharaj to throw much light on the subject in his presidential address. But before that, let us turn our attention to a special address by revered Swami Atmapriyanandaji Maharaj, who will be delivering a speech on resonance between ancient Vedantic and modern scientific principles in the light of Swami Vivekananda's teachings, a topic which focuses to address skepticism and relevance of spirituality in the present scientific age, and hence close to Swamiji's heart. I now request revered Swami Atmapriyanandaji Maharaj to take the podium.
Om yaschandasa mrishabho vishvarupah chandobhyodhyamritaat sambabhuva samendro medhaya aspranotu amritasya devadharano bhuyasam shariram me vicharshanam jihva me madhumattama karna bhuri vishruvam Brahmana koshosi medhaya pihita shrutam me gopaya om shanti 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 harihi om tatsat. My respectful salutations to Swami Suviranandaji, the revered General Secretary of Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramakrishna Mission. He also happens to be the Chancellor of Ramakrishna Mission Vivekananda Educational Research Institute, a deemed university which I had the privilege of serving for 15 years as Vice Chancellor, and even now I'm associated with this university. My very respectful pranams to him. And Swami Suparnanandaji, the Secretary of this prestigious institute, I thank him for calling me here, and he told me specifically that I should speak about Swami Vivekananda's ideas about spirituality vis-a-vis modern science. So in respectful compliance to his wish, I have tried to put down some ideas. And Professor Radharaman Chakrabarti, who is in the dais, is an old friend of the institute, and we have been knowing each other for years. And the revered monks, revered and dear monks present here, and all the eager audience who have been visiting the Institute of Culture for several years now. The topic of my talk, which I have given here, is in the displayed. It is the resonance of certain ideas which are commonly found in Vedanta as well as modern science. Before that, I begin with a remarkable quotation from Swami Vivekananda. He writes it to E.T. Sturdy, where he says, I think Alasinga Perumal, and he writes 2 letters almost on the same date, a few days. He says, to put Hindu ideas into English and make out of dry philosophy, intricate mythology, and queer, startling psychology, a religion which shall be simple, popular, easy, at the same time meet the requirements of the highest minds is something, a task, which only those know who have attempted it. The dry Advaita should become living and poetic in everyday life. Out of intricate mythology should come concrete moral forms. And out of bewildering yogism must come the most scientific and practical psychology. And all this must be put in a form that even a child may be able to grasp it. And that is my life's work. Swamiji himself defining his own mission, his own life, very complicated task which Swamiji took upon himself. Even a Shankara took it up decades ago, centuries ago, before Swami Vivekananda. And during Swami Vivekananda's time, science has grown much. Many ideas were there already. 1900 was Max Planck. Swamiji perhaps did not at that time exposure to this. Swamiji unfortunately passed away in 1902, as you know. Einstein came 3 years later with his relativity theory, followed by a general theory of relativity 10 years later. But Swamiji seems to have anticipated some of them. Because, you know, Swamiji himself said, the universal principles of Vedanta should be discovered and applied in everyday life. That is Swamiji's great dream and mission. He said, by Vedanta, he said, I don't mean the ritualism, I don't mean the various kind of practices which we do, but universal principles. Universal principles are those principles which transcend time and space. So Swami Suparnandaji has now spoke about this. Anything which is changing cannot be universal. What is change? Change takes place in time, change takes place in space. You have some Indian rupees in your pocket, and you move to even a place like Bangladesh or Dubai, the money which you hold can't buy you a cup of coffee, which happened to me once. I didn't know that. So when you change your place, space changes, then things change. You had a 1,000 rupee currency note in your pocket. Come 8th November, which date was that? Some years ago. You wake up the next morning and see that the money which you have is useless. The government declares that this currency will not anymore work. In time, there is change. In space, there is change. And therefore, that which has to be changeless should be beyond time and beyond space. This is a simple logic. Now the question arose in Vedanta, why should we have anything which is changeless? All of you know the famous Marxist theory, which says everything is continuously changing. Humorously we say, change is the only changeless entity, constant entity in this universe. That which is constant is change. Everything is continuously changing. Interestingly, this was the philosophy of Buddha also. Those who are exposed to our philosopher is here, those who are exposed to the Buddhistic ideas. Buddha said everything is constantly changing. The idea of pratitya samutpada, some of you or most of you may know, continuously things are changing. How do you perceive the changeless? You perceive the changeless because of the continuous change. It appears as if there is no change. They give the example, Alatha Chakra. A firebrand is continuously revolved as a circle. The circle appears to be a reality, but it's not a reality at all. So there are two schools. One school, the Buddha, and applied in modern times, Marx, for example. So there cannot be anything which is permanent. Everything is continuously changing. The atoms and the molecules are changing, and the electrons are rotating around the nucleus. And you see the celestial objects, the sun and the moon and the nebulae, all of them are continuously rotating and changing. So where do you find no change? Vedanta will say, but there has to be something changeless in order to perceive change, with respect to which change can be observed. The objection to this by Nagarjuna and others is, when you don't see change or changeless at all, you can only presume changeless, but can you actually realize that which is changeless? Vedanta coming and saying that you can do it in the depths of meditation when you go deep into yourself, then the ordinary man will say, I don't know anything about all this. What I see, perceive now is change. Now this is a great tussle between change and changeless, that which is Shashvata Satya, which is eternal truth, and the relative truth is continuously we find in change. So Swami Vivekananda said some universal principles of Vedanta have to be discovered, and they should be applied in life. It's very interesting that Swamiji always emphasized application in daily life. You may be the greatest philosopher, even a great Brahmajnani. We had hundreds of them, we have some even now. We do not know where they are and what they do. But all that is all right. But in daily life, for the ordinary man, what do you do? Can Vedanta change the lives of ordinary people? It's very enigmatic and powerful statements. Some of them are really difficult to digest. If a fisherman thinks he is the Atman, he'll be a better fisherman. If a lawyer thinks he is the lawyer, he'll be a better lawyer. And if a student thinks he's an Atman, he'll be a better student. Do you mean to say he'll catch more fish? What exactly it means? Teach Advaita, teach Vedanta to everybody. Power will come, glory will come, all that is good and grand will come when the sleeping soul awakens to its unconscious activity, self-conscious activity. These are Swami Vivekananda's words, all of you know this. Swami just said practically it has to be demonstrated in everyday life. Suparnandaji was talking about Vedantic civilization and Vedantic society. Swamiji was once asked in Harvard Philosophical Club, what is your idea of Vedantic idea of civilization? Swamiji said, that society is the greatest, wherein the greatest ideas become the most practical. You may have the greatest ideal in life. Can you actually practicalize it in everyday life? In science also, as all of you know, there are theoretical scientists who discover great truths. But unless these are actually applied in daily life and presentable as truths which transform the lives of ordinary people, enhance their quality of life, Nobel will not give you a prize. It's clearly written, the Nobel Prize mandate. You may have the greatest theory on earth, but you show me how it is practicable, how it is realizable, and how it changes the lives of people. People had to wait for several decades to get Nobel Prize, and some of them even did not. That's why Nobel did not institute a prize for mathematics. The two types of mathematics, the purest of the pure mathematics, and the other mathematics which is applied. Professor Hardy, it seems, used to say, what do you mean, applied mathematics? Can mathematics be applied? Mathematics is pure, it's for the abstract people who think about great truths and discover these realities. Ramanujan's theorems have been practically applied after nearly 100 years. So theoreticians have to wait before it's being applied. Here was a great spiritual scientist, Swami Vivekananda, who in such a short span of life repeatedly emphasized he should not only be theoretical, but he should be practical. That was the whole scheme, and the emblem of the Ramakrishna mission is a great demonstration of this truth. You should have jnana, go deep. You should have yoga, contemplation, realize truths, and bhakti, and demonstrate it through karma in practical life. That is what he called the practical Vedanta, about which this whole seminar is about. And Swami Vivekananda, interestingly, said the highest truths can be made practical. There's a great dispute about this. Many people say, oh, this idea of Shivajnane, Jiva Shiva, you can see the God in everybody, it's only talk. How many people in the Ramakrishna have seen God and they're serving? Many people have disputed this. The idea is, highest ideals can be made practical, and they are practicable, practicable in everyday life, and they are living realities in life. Unless they are so, these have no meaning for life at all. This is Swami Vivekananda's clear conviction. That's why he said, here was a great man, Sri Ramakrishna, an extraordinary spiritual personality whose entire life was most practical. Those who have read the Kathamrita will know how Sri Ramakrishna will immediately say, Bhadata Nichoto. He was very careful that they first collect the carriage fare, and then he will have samadhi, he will dance and sing. Finally he said, Bhadata Nichoto. You know the stories. Rakhal chote mote bollo, chole jaye. Ekan dakcha na amader, are কে আমাদের খাওয়াবে এখানে খাওয়াবো না বলে এসছি আর ভাড়া কে দেবে So look at the practicality of the person, and he said the highest truth, which is seeing God, realizing God, can be made practical, and that society is greatest where the highest truths can be made practical. That is what Swami Vivekananda said. In that sense, he says Indian society is the most advanced, Indian society is the most civilized, where the highest truths of Aham Brahmasmi, I am that infinite self, can be made a practical proposition for everybody. Even just the other day, Jai Shamaraja Vadiya's father, he was an extraordinarily saintly soul. He published a book and printed a book and distributed to all his subjects. The name of the book was Ashtavakra Gita, Ashtavakra Samhita, one of the greatest Advaitic texts. And he told all his subjects, this shall be the textbook for my kingdom. Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest jnanis of modern times, he was so fascinated by this act, he took a book and he signed on that, and it is being published and distributed now. Why I am saying this? Can you think of a king putting Advaita as the greatest doctrine for his subjects? Think of Janaka. Janaka was a king, a monarch at that. He had plenty of time to discuss Brahman. Yajnavalkya used to come to him sometime, and then Janaka would ask, do you want some cows or you want to discuss Brahman? Cows means wealth, money. Then Yajnavalkya, Ubhayam vai Samrat, both my lord, so I want some money and also I will discuss Brahman. So he used to call everybody. Now, I call everybody to my court. Who is the greatest knower of the Vedas? Brahmishtha. Who will claim I am the greatest? Suppose I ask who is the greatest jnani in this audience. Nobody will say I am the greatest. The people look this here and there. Yajnavalkya smartly got up, did not say I am the greatest. He told his disciple Shamashrava, take the cows home. It's a huge furor, people up in arms. Are you the Brahmishthosi? Yajnavalkya with great humility said, Namo vayam brahmisthaya kurma gokama vayam. I bow down to the greatest knower of Brahman, but we want those cows. This is the country where kings have been discussing with their subjects the highest Vedanta, and Rishi Yajnavalkya discussing with his wives Brahmajnana. So it is possible. That's the first thing which we have to realize now. Coming to Ramakrishna Vivekananda, all of us should be convinced that the highest truths are realizable. Ishwar achen, Ishwar ke dekha jaye, Ishwar dekhai jivaner uddeshya, ईश्वर दर्शन लाभ ना होए ये मनुष्य जन्म यदि खंड चले जाए तो जीवन तो वृथा. The 4 sutras of Chatursutri of Sri Ramakrishna. This is called asambhavana in Vedanta. This great obstacle. It is possible, you can see. Now, about science and religion. Swami Vivekananda gave a great formula. Science and religion shall meet and shake hands in the Jnana Yoga lectures. Poetry and philosophy will become friends. This will be the religion of the future. And if we can work it out, we are sure it will be for all times and all peoples. This is the one way that will prove acceptable to modern science, for it has almost come to it. Swamiji had a clear conviction that it is possible for science, materialistic science, to meet spirituality. He makes a very bold statement, which even now I'm searching for scriptural roots of that statement. He says, even if a person takes up materialistic science and pursues it far, till the end of it, he will come to the ultimate truth, which appears very unlike the statement of Shankara. He says, Atma and Anatma are absolutely different. Vishmatasmat pratyayoho vishayvashayanoho tamaprakashavad viruddha svabhavayoho, the Brahma Sutra Bhashya begins. Atma and Anatma are totally different. They can never come together. And Atma, Anatma, Viveka has to be done. Anatma has to be rejected. Atman has to be accepted. Here comes Sri Ramakrishna, who says, by neti reject the Anatman, and after having realized the Atman, rejecting the Anatman, you realize the same principle, the infinite, joyful principle is manifesting as the Anatman, overwhelmingly showing its face through the world of relativity. So where matter ends and where spirit begins is not defined. That is Ramakrishna's philosophy. He called it Vijnana. There is an interesting incident. Swami Nirvanandaji, called Suji Maharaj, disciple of Swami Brahmanandaji, they are all brahmacharis at that time. He was conversing with Abani Maharaj. He was Prabhavanandaji. And Abani Maharaj was more learned and more clever, he thought. Then he is telling, hey, Suji, all the various visions which Ramakrishna had, don't think they are all the material plane. It a bhaver darshan egoli. Then Swami Brahmananda listened from his room and came out and said, Tumi to sharbaggo hege chish dikchi. Show me the line of demarcation where matter ends and spirit begins. What you call matter and spirit are artificial demarcations made by the intellect. When you go that far, even Shankaracharya said, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyed Brahmamayam Jagat. Swami Suparnandaji's very favorite statement. We used to listen to him for a very long time. Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva, make your drishti vision Jnanamayi, then you will see the entire world saturated with Brahman. Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam Mitkinja Jagatyam Jagat. These are statements, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, this in the Upanishads. But it was the glory of Ramakrishna Vivekananda to take it out and then define a philosophy and a religion and a practice in which one can live in the world, seeing the whole world as saturated by Brahman, after having rejected the relative, climbing to the absolute, coming down as it were to the relative plane and seeing the relative universe as fully saturated, overwhelmed, overpowered and enveloped by the divine, Isha Vasyam. So Swami Vivekananda says the science and religion should come to shake hands. There is one statement in Swamiji's paper on Hinduism which he read in Chicago. I consider this one of the finest and the best productions of Swamiji's mind because he wrote it. All of you know Swamiji wrote very little. He did not have the time. He spoke. It was written, recorded mostly by Goodwin and then published. We do not exactly know the veracity of all which he wrote. Goodwin also sometimes used to fumble, you know the stories, I am not going into that. So Swamiji wrote this. And at the peak of his glory at that time, 1893, those who have seen the pictures of Swami Vivekananda at that time, the speeches he gave, as if power was oozing from him, and he was bombarding the whole universe by the spiritual power which was imparted to him by Sri Ramakrishna. There is a statement in that. He talks about three kinds of monism. Monism is Advaita, as you know. Materialistic monism, philosophical monism, and spiritual monism. I leave it to you to read the lecture and then contemplate on it. Even at the level of matter, we are one. Suparnananda mentioned it just now. Swamiji says clearly, although Einstein's discovery was not known at that time, generally it became much later, but Swamiji said, modern science has proved, that's what he says. That means he must have listened to people or heard people or read somewhere. Modern science has proved that even materially we are not separate, we are one. Einstein's general theory of relativity says, even the world of matter is one undivided mass of matter. It comes from a principle called the Mach's principle. Mach was a German philosopher. Very humorously, it is put in a simple way, if you lift a little finger here, you are disturbing a star out there. The whole thing is huge mass. All of us sitting here, our bodies, all of them are simply whirlpools in a huge mass of matter. So materially we are one, and mentally we are one. This was discovered in India long ago, as you know. This is called the cosmic mind of the Hiranyagarbha. Discovery Hiranyagarbha in the Upanishads is one of the outstanding discoveries of that time. The Hiranyagarbha, which is also called Mahat. The Sankhyans call it Mahat, and the Vedanta calls it Hiranyagarbha. Indriyebhya parahyartha arthebhyascha param manah. The Kathopanishad. Mahata param avyaktam avyaktat purushaparaha. There Shankaracharya's bhashya, what is Mahat? He says, Avyaktad prathamam jatam hiranyagarbham tattvam. Clear statement that that which is offshoot of Avyakta, which is Prakriti, which is called Mahat, is the same as Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind. What is cosmic mind? Aggregate the minds of all the beings in this universe. If you take an aggregate of all the minds, this is called the cosmic mind, your mind, my mind, all of them form part of this cosmic mind. Which means, if I want to communicate with you, I don't have to go through any other process except upload my thought in the Hiranyagarbha. And you can download from where you are. Internet has proved this now. Suppose I sent a message, somebody is sending a message somewhere there. If I send a message over the mobile phone, from here to there, it has to go through the server. So Hiranyagarbha is the cosmic server through which all the minds are connected. All the minds are connected through the Hiranyagarbha. Our students come and ask, you people keep everything a secret. Why are the mantras secret? Why can't be given to everybody? I said, you are absolutely right. We should be transparent, we should be open, we should be giving it to everybody. Do you have an email account? Yes, of course I have. What's your password? No, that I can't tell you. Why not? If you say it should be so transparent, there are certain things which can't be divulged to everybody. It is not secrecy. The sacredness of a thing has to be preserved by keeping it in your heart, because it is too sacred for you to give it to everybody. The wife will not give her password to the husband. I don't know about all of you. So this cosmic server is the Hiranyagarbha, and all the minds can communicate through them. Some of the great saints have said, I have communicated to you, go and search. Every one of our thoughts which we have through our minds, these thoughts are automatically uploaded in the cosmic mind of the Hiranyagarbha, and anybody else can download from there. So Swamiji says, be very careful of what you think. Because the thought never dies out. The power of thought is always there. And all the thoughts which come in the modern times through science and great intellectuals, all of them have been downloaded from the Hiranyagarbha in some way and packaged differently. If you see the modern books which people write, it's all taken from somewhere. It's not plagiarism that I'm talking about. They can download from other people and then you have to package it. This is exactly what Swami Vivekananda did. And some people ask, what did Swami Vivekananda do in the West? He said, packaging and marketing a Vedanta. He packaged Vedanta in such a way as it's palatable. He said, wrote a letter to E.T. Sturdy, I want to give them dry reason, jnana, soaked in the sweetest syrup of love, bhakti, made spicy with work, karma, and cooked in the kitchen of yoga, so that even a child may easily digest. It may be made palatable. Swamiji made it so palatable, so easy. Things are not that easy. If you read the Kathamrita, it is the most difficult book. Volumes can be written from one line of Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji said. These great prophets appear to be simplistic, not simple, but simplistic. It appears so simple. You go deeper and deeper, it has vast dimensions. So this is what Swami Vivekananda said, and therefore he said certain universal principles. What are the principles? I have tried to discover 4 principles, 4 fundamental principles in the development of scientific and philosophical thought. What are they? 1, the classification principle. 2, the generalization principle. 3, the unification principle. And 4, the microcosm-macrocosm identity principle. These are universal principles of science as well as Vedanta. Each one of them pursuing it in their own way. You should remember the Upanishad rishis, who were Vedantas, Vedanta means the Upanishads, were not searching for God. None of the Upanishads actually per se talk about God. They were asking simple questions about life. This is what we are missing now. We want to be pedantic, we want to be scholastic, we want to pick up words and terms and then imagine that we are great scholars. They ask simple questions. Einstein was asked once, how did you come up with this great theory? Einstein simply smiled and said, you see, when you are children, we ask inconvenient questions of our teachers and parents. And the parents usually say, don't ask such questions. And teachers are more clever. They say, when you go to the higher class, you will know. When you go to the higher class and you ask, they'll say, did you not study in the lower class? Einstein said, I did not forget those questions. Upanishads ask simple questions about our daily life. When I open the eyes, how is it that I see? Is it a great question? How is it that I am able to hear? How is it that the mind is able to think? Kene shitam patati preshitam mana, kena prana prasama priti yukta, kene shitam vachamimam badanti chakshusrotram, kavudevo yunakti. The first stanza of the Kena Upanishad. How is it they are able to see? How is it they are able to see? Is it the eye which sees? Or something which is behind the eye? Is it the ear that hears? Or it is something behind the ear? Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyad vachoha vachamso tau pranasya pranaha. The eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind. This is all that they could say. The Upanishads ask simple questions, that's all. And the answers are great, profound answers, which compiled is called the Vedanta, or the Upanishads. So Vedanta is the nearest to our life because it is just about our own life. The Mandika Upanishad, for example, simply asks, you see all this universe and talk to them, talk to people and interact with people, all this appear to be so real to you. When you're tired and sleep off, you dream certain things You do not know what? What is the space in which we dream? This is the space in which I see all of you, but this entire hall is dreamt by me in my dream. There's not so much space to accommodate this Institute of Culture in my heart. How is it that I see? What is the space? And if you go still beyond, I don't see anything, blank, in deep sleep. This is the experience you go through every day. Day after day, year after year, you go through the same experience of waking, dream, and deep sleep. And you don't ask questions. Upanishad says, why don't you ask questions? How do I dream? What do I dream? What is the space? So they say, from there they discovered there is a space which is called the Mahakasha, and there's another space called Chitta Akasha. The mind, thoughts span the Chitta Akasha. Thought is also subtle matter, subtle object. Just like objects span this big space outside, the thought spans the space inside, which is the mind space, Chitta Akasha. Beyond that is the consciousness called Chidakasha. Simple discovery. They said, therefore, can you not go and explore this? Before that they said, can you classify? Why does the mind classify? Human mind has its capacity to classify and to conceptualize, universalize, unify. These are the tendencies of human mind. You want to classify everything. All of you work in the computers, most of you, every one of you, you have folders. One folder for the Institute of Culture, one folder for some, one folder for your wife and children, one folder for something else. These are classified and put in small folders. Classification is a fundamental tendency of the human mind. You know the famous periodic classification of elements. In school days, perhaps you must have read this, not forgotten yet. 92 elements were discovered. Then they said, can you not classify them? How do you? Oh, you can classify them. Classify them according to certain principles, according to certain criteria. They said according to the interaction of these elements with other elements. Then they found certain elements don't interact at all. They are called the inert gases, helium, argon, and so on. And elements in the periodic table interact with every other element in such a way as to reach the configuration nearest inert gas in the periodic table. It's called a periodic law. Why inert gas? Then you can be lazy. Einstein humorously framed a law called the law of cosmic laziness, which means every one of us wants to be lazy. That means the lowest energy state. When you're high energy, you keep on jumping about. When you're old, you don't have money in your pocket, then you slowly try to meditate because you have nothing else to do. So low energy state is the most stable state. The lowest energy state is the most stable. That's what physics says. So more and more you are non-interactive with people, with society, with everybody. You are so happy. With whom are you interacting? Then Vedanta said, you absorb in yourself Atmarama. Atmarama idea is one of the finest and the greatest, the glorious idea in Vedanta, in which you simply get absorbed in yourself. Recently we went through a very terrible pandemic, COVID-19, loneliness. I can't interact with people, I can't meet people, I can't shake hands with people, I can't hug people. What do I do? Simply sitting there, I feel very lonely. What is loneliness? Swami Vivekananda once told me beautifully, when I say I'm very lonely, what does it actually mean? Psychologically explore this sentence. I'm very happy I see you. Your company delights me. When I am lonely, in whose company am I? I'm in my own company because nobody else is there. That means my company is so repulsive to me that I can't bear myself. Is it right, logically? That means when I say I'm depressed, I'm lonely, I'm afraid, I'm unhappy, that means you don't like your own company. If I don't like my company, why should you like my company? So those who feel lonely are usually not liked by people. People who simply enjoy their own company, delight and happy, Atmaramas, every everybody runs to see him. Everybody rushing to Ramakrishna because he is alone, happy. In the Kathamrita, there's a description how he's like an Atmarama, is moving around. Children. Have you seen a child feeling unhappy in his own company? Simply it will be playing in its own way. If some people come, it simply go away. I don't want you. Everybody runs behind a child. So if you want to be liked by people, first you like yourself. Not the small self, but the bigger self. Vedanta says, explore into yourself and remember, you are the greatest object, which is the object of your love. Why is the Atman so dear to me? Because it's the greatest to be loved. Nava are patyuk kavaya patipriyo bhavati atmanastu kavaya patipriyo bhavati nava are jayaye kamaya jaya priya bhavati atmanastu kamaya jaya priya bhavati nava are sarvasya kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati atmava are drashtavyaha shrotavyo mantavyo nitidhyasitavyaha Radharaman Upanishad. Yajnavalkya is telling his wife, it is only because of your own self that everybody appears to be dear. The dearest object in life is your own self. Suppose you said, you will die, but you'll get plenty of wealth. Which one will you choose? I'll tell you a small story, time is running out. One of my students in Vidya Mandir, he was posted to Andaman Nicobar. He was a very big officer. He described this story. Suddenly he came to my office, crying out of joy. Maharaj, Thakure ki kripa. What happened? I lost everything. You lost everything? Why are you saying? I saw waves rushing and then chasing me. Then we were in the third floor. I told my wife, come immediately, get down, run and run. Some of your friends were picking up their jewelry and their laptop. They were all washed away. I came and ran. Somehow I got a tall building. I saw everything washed away. I just have the clothes which I'm wearing. It's all that I have. Oh, what grace. That set me thinking, you see, because he got himself, lost everything and is happy. So recover yourself. This is what Vedanta says. All that Vedanta says is, recover your own soul. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, wrote a book, Modern Man in Search of a Soul. Modern man is now searching for his own soul. We have acquired everything in the universe, but we have lost ourselves. This is what Christ said in the Bible. He said, what if we have acquired everything in the universe but lost your own soul? Then what is the meaning of that? So this principle called the classification principle lets you know which is what? Vedanta classified two categories, Atma, Anatma, Purusha, Prakriti, Sankhya, conscious, unconscious. The broad classification. The second one, the generalization principle. Swami Vivekananda has a famous lecture. All of you should definitely read this after going home. Reason and religion. There he says, human mind always generalizes. From the less to the more, particular to the general, general to the more general to the most general of the universal. He gives the example, when an apple fell, Newton did not think of this as an isolated incident, but referred it to something very general. He said, apple falls, mango also will fall, stones fall, so everything falls. So he said there is a principle of falling to the earth. So then most general is the law of gravitation, universal law of gravitation. Human mind will always go on generalizing. What is the greatest generalization? All of us sitting here, you try to generalize. Somebody is a woman, somebody is a man, somebody is learned, somebody is not so much learned. So many differences. What is the general principle by which you bring all of us together? All of us are from Bengal. There may be somebody from South India, somebody from North India. I'm not from Bengal. Oh, you are there. We are all Indians. There's somebody from France or Germany. He is not an Indian. Then we say you're all human beings. Then a cat or a dog comes and peers. Am I out of the picture? No, you are very much there. You are my pet. What is generalization? We are all living beings. Then this table and the chair will come and tell you, I served you so much, the microphone is serving you. Am I left out? Then what should you do? Being. This is the most generalized expression. Swamiji says this. And of course, the masala is added by me. He says, being is the most general. It's called Sat. And this being, conscious being, expresses itself. I'll tell you a small story. I come from Belur, as you know. On special occasions, lakhs of people come, hundreds of thousands of people, and the microphone is always blazing. Rana Mukherjee, আপনারা কোথায় আছেন আপনি অনুসন্ধান অফিসে আসুন আপনার জন্য অপেক্ষা করছেন you know the story. So a small boy came with his mother, simply got missed, and the mother is crying, কখন কোথায় গেলে রে কোথায় গেলে etc. The কখন says আমি তো এখানে আছি. This is Act 1 Scene 1. I'll come to Act 1 Scene 2. I have a very important meeting at 10 o'clock. I prepared all the documents, whole night I woke up, and I'm just about to start. I'm not able to trace the document. I shout at everybody, as most husbands do. Where is that? Where did you keep it? How do I know? And then you open the drawer, it is there. Oh, it is here. Now look at these two scenes. Kokhan said, I am here. But the document did not say, why are you shouting? I'm just in the drawer in front of you. What is the difference? Kokhan could announce himself where this fellow could not. So, being, Sat, has a capacity to announce itself, reveal itself. It is called Chit. Swayam Prakasha. That is the word Vedanta uses. You have the capacity to express yourself. No proof is necessary for that. People ask for proof. What is the proof of God? Vedanta says, what is the proof that you are here? So all of you are sitting here. Is it right? Yes? What is the proof? I am standing here. What is the proof? The proof is you are here. That's the proof. I am. Aham asmi. So Sat is the only proof. Sat need not be proved by something else. Swayam Prakasha need not be proved by some other Prakasha. And awareness of existence is bliss or Ananda. Because the Priyatva, the dearness of the Atman, gives you a position of Ananda. You derive Ananda from yourself, mistakenly thinking that comes from outside. Vedanta has a beautiful story. The dog, which was constantly biting the bones, some flesh was sticking there. And went on biting, and its tongue got hurt. And blood was oozing out. And he was licking its own blood. Said, oh, this is very tasty. The dog licking its own blood and thinking it is coming from outside. Vedanta says, all of us, all the Ananda that you need is here. But we think it is coming from outside and enjoying it. So this is the principle of generalization. The particular refer to the general, general to the more general, and the most general, Swamiji says, which Vedanta says, Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. And the third principle, the unification principle. That's extremely vital. Man wants to unify everything. He is not happy about individualities. Swamiji always used to make fun of the Westerners. You Westerners are so much worried about individuality. You are not individuals yet. You shall be when you become universal. So human mind always wants to unify, unification. It doesn't like differences. What is that one principle from which all the other can be derived? A famous question by Shaunaka to Angiras. Shaunako have mahashalo angirasam vidhivadupasanna papracha kasminna bhagavo vigyate sarvamidam vigyatam bhavatiti. What is that from which, knowing which everything can be known? Now science is asking this question. Answer is not found. Einstein, towards the end of his life, he traced the holy grail of the unified field theory, and he could not succeed. He died a sad man because he said, my future generations will find out. Unified field theory is that theory by knowing which all the theories can be found out. Abdul Salam and Weinberg, Abdul Salam was a Pakistani scientist, they made a tremendous discovery for which they got the Nobel Prize, unification of the forces of nature. The electromagnetic force, the weak force and the strong force, but gravitation is still eluding us. String theory, superstring theory, they tried all that, they could not succeed. Because the human mind thinks there cannot be several theories. There has to be one fundamental principle or a theory from which everything can be derived. And Vedanta derived this as Brahman. Brahman is the one supreme principle from which everything can be derived. There's a huge subject, the unified field theory, which they have been trying and not getting so far. And the last one, the microcosm-macrocosm principle. It's a very interesting principle. Swami Vivekananda repeatedly mentioned this. He had an experience in Almora, as you know, under the peepal tree. He wrote in his diary to Swami Akhandananda, Gangadhar, today I have realized something, and my greatest problem has been resolved. I have found the unity of the microcosm and the macrocosm. I have found the universe in an atom, he said. And he spoke about this elaborately, two famous lectures which he gave, Cosmos, the microcosm, Cosmos, the macrocosm. So the Indian mind, once they realized that the microcosm contains all that is there in the macrocosm, they stopped going out. If here I can find everything, why should I go out? This is the famous story of Ganesha and Kartikeya. You know the story. Parvati said, I'm going to give you a prize. 2 sons. Which one of you will travel around the whole universe and come back the fastest time? Immediately Kartikeya took his bowing and went far and far. And Ganesha was quietly sitting there. After his brother has gone, it went round the mother, give me. Because in the macrocosm is there. This idea of microcosm, macrocosm identity is shown by this interesting allegory or a story. So you can find everything here in the microcosm, and then there's a projection principle from which you can project from the macro to the macro, and back from the macro to the micro, on which the whole of science, the entire science is dependent on this projection principle, the macrocosm principle. So I'm running out of time. Swami Vivekananda's lecture on reason and religion, I mentioned this to you, and physics, there is an interesting theorem called the Neusser's theorem. Neusser was a woman scientist. She found out the connection between symmetry and invariance. It's a very interesting idea. Symmetry always is beauty. What is beauty? Anything which is symmetric is beautiful. I used to see our students preparing for the Saraswati Puja and so on. They will take a piece of paper and then fold it like that, and then cut it at random. Open it, you have beautiful symmetry. Because symmetry always means beauty, and invariance means changeless, which is truth. Satyam is always Sundaram, and it should be Shivam. That's the old principle in Vedanta. The unification principle, I mentioned this. Now they are talking about Internet of Things, IoT, the virtual reality and the augmented reality, AR and VR, have been merged into what is known as mixed reality. Satyanrate, Mithuni Kritya, which Shankaracharya spoke about. And Sri Ramakrishna's idea of Vijnana, that was the unification principle in which the relative and the absolute, the permanent and the impermanent, the changing and the unchanging, both of them have been subsumed in a larger reality, which is Brahman, and not the Brahman of Shankara, the Brahman of Ramakrishna, in which says the whole thing is subsumed. Chok bujli ki Ishwarachan chok chaile uni nahi. The whole world is permeated by the same Brahman. What we call the world is actually Brahman. Swami Vivekananda's quote, just now it is read out. The one principle, who by the ignorant is called man. Ignorant is calling you man, woman, etc. I am the servant of that being who by the ignorant is called man. What you call the relative is actually the absolute. The microcosm unity, Swamiji had this realization, and certain quests, which I'll skip now for the moment. And I'll end with a quotation from Einstein, our favorite hero. My religion consists of a humble adoration of an illimitable intelligence which our dull faculties can comprehend only the most primitive form. He said, in that sense, I'm extremely religious. There's an illimitable intelligence which is operating in this universe, controlling the whole universe, and running the affairs of this universe, which we can't comprehend. And the last quote, the most profound and the most sublime experience that one can have is the sensation of the spiritual. It is truly the source of all science. A person who is a stranger to the emotion, who can no longer stand and see rapt awe, is as good as dead. To know that what is impenetrable can really exist, manifesting itself as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, which our dull faculties cannot comprehend properly. This, he says, is this knowledge, this realization constitutes the true spirituality. This, look at the sentence, this cosmic and religious mystical consciousness is the noblest mainspring of all scientific research. In this sense, the more and more you deeply enter into science, not for commercial purpose, not for getting jobs, not getting prizes, as a quest for truth in the outside world or the inner world, you come to the same point in which you realize the Mandika Upanishad again. Om ityedidam sarvam. It begins with everything is Om. Next statement, sarvam hi etad brahma. Everything is Brahman. Ayam atma brahma. Om equal to sarvam, equal to Brahman, equal to Atman. The whole thing is subsumed on universal, infinite consciousness in which you, I, all these divisions vanish. There is no distinction anymore between the secular and the sacred, the absolute and the relative, the infinite and the finite, the changing and unchanging. All of them are seen subsumed in infinite, vast consciousness, which is called Brahman. Thank you.
I thank revered Maharaj for his absorbing speech and informative presentation. One of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj, who was given the name Mahapurush Maharaj by Swamiji, has this to say: this is a settled view amongst us that Sri Ramakrishna is himself the Vedas and Swamiji their commentaries. So we have tried to line up the sessions in this light. In the academic sessions that are to follow this inaugural session, that is tomorrow, we have invited accomplished scholars and monks who will be deliberating on themes such as religion and universal values, Swamiji's thoughts on practical Vedanta, Swamiji's concept of the divinity in man, and Swamiji's synthesis of the 4 yogas. The seminar will be brought to a close tomorrow evening with the valedictory speech by Assistant General Secretary, revered Swami Balabhadranji Maharaj. All of you are welcome to attend the session starting from 10 a.m. tomorrow. I now humbly call upon the revered General Secretary Maharaj to deliver the presidential address.
Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupayo Swamine Tapoharine. I offer my salutations at the holy feet of Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Sri Sharada Devi, and Swami Vivekananda. On the stage, Swami Suparnanandaji, the secretary of this esteemed institute, Swami Atmapriyanandaji, who is the secretary of our center, R.K.M. Bedi, and also the Pro-Chancellor of the deemed to be university. Professor Radharaman Chakrabarti, Director, International Understanding for Human Unity Program of the Institute, which is sponsored by the UNESCO. Brother monks, beloved brahmacharis, distinguished and august gathering, I am called upon by the master of the program to deliver my presidential address. Presidential address, delivering it, has both advantage and disadvantage. Disadvantage is you may have thought that you will speak and this is already spoken. So you are left in the lurch. And the advantage is there is none to contradict you. Whatever you say is final, right or wrong. So with this note, I would have certainly liked to speak on the subjects of the seminar, namely Swamiji's concept of divinity in man, Swamiji's thoughts on practical Vedanta, and the ways to the realization of a universal religion. I will certainly touch upon this, but then the master of the program, the Swami, he has mandated to me to speak on the movement, the Ramakrishna movement. Now, Ramakrishna movement, what it is? Ramakrishna movement is a historical necessity. Ramakrishna movement is a divine complicity. Why it is historical necessity? If we look towards the history, Sri Ramakrishna was born in 36, and in 1935, Macaulay says that my job is done. Englishization is complete. Young men of Bengal, they think in English, they dream in English, they speak in English, they drink in English, they sleep in English. Englishization is complete, and which is why I feel satisfied and complacent that my job is done. Man proposes and God disposes. That is the time when history starts speaking and acting. What happened? In 1936, we see the birth of Sri Ramakrishna, the latest incarnation, the incarnation of incarnations. Now, Sri Ramakrishna came, and we have mother with him, we have Swamiji with him, we have his children, his sons, his disciples with him. Now, what do we find? We find that Sri Ramakrishna has a greater challenge, greater than Sri Krishna, Ram, Jesus, Buddha, and so on. Why? Because he had to simultaneously encounter and change the course of the civilization on more than one front. What were those fronts? Those fronts were religion. Religion was victim of religion. Number two, the superstition. Number three, the condition of the women. Number four, the vast multitude sleeping and silently dying under the yoke of poverty, malnutrition, hunger. And that was the time when Ramakrishna came, and Ramakrishna was to come. And Ramakrishna came, lived for 50 years, and then he passed away. But Ramakrishna didn't leave us. Ramakrishna died, Ramakrishna didn't die. Who is it? We find when Sri Ramakrishna's mortal frame was consigned to flame, many people in and around Kolkata, did in Calcutta thought the chapter is closed, the history has come to a blind lane or by lane, and maybe history will be mute. No. Ramakrishna, at least two persons knew. One was Vivekananda, another was Holy Mother Sharda Devi. That Ramakrishna was not a skylark of Shelley. Shelley's skylark soars higher after higher, till it is lost in the clouds of heaven. It doesn't have any promise to come back to the mundane world. But Wordsworth had a skylark. Wordsworth's skylark goes higher after higher, but his eyes are fixed at the kindred points of heaven and home. And that is what Ramakrishna was. Which is why Narendranath knew, Sharda Devi knew that Ramakrishna didn't die, Ramakrishna didn't leave us, Ramakrishna had a movement to be organized ahead. And what is the divine complicity aspect? Why it is called that Ramakrishna movement is a divine complicity? We know, if we look at Sri Ramakrishna's life, what do we find? We find after he had Siddhi, he successfully realized the truth of all the religions possible and were before him. Then he was mandated. He was mandated by Holy Mother, and one of the very preeminent mandate, very important mandate was, you must start a new wheel of dharma. You must start a new wheel of dharma. That was the mandate passed on to the master. And this movement gradually crystallized, took this shape, and then started a journey, and today it has reached, it has outlived 125 years of its existence. Now, how do you look at the existence of this movement after 125 years of its journey? I hope you will excuse me if I quote the President of India, who says that, well, Ramakrishna mission is symbol of integrity. Will you permit me to quote the Prime Minister of the country? He says, Ramakrishna mission is a milestone in the history of modern civilization. The Chief Minister of Bengal says, Ramakrishna mission means excellence, excellence means Ramakrishna mission. I have not heard them, they are on record. This is abroad. This is at home. Abroad, what do we find? The people who are conversant with the ongoings of Ramakrishna movement, you all know that a very important book, a path-breaking book, has been published by Cambridge University in the month of April, authored by Ruth Harris. You must have heard about her, the head of the Department of Modern History in Oxford University. And what is the name of the book? The book has been, as I have told, book has been authored by her, and book has been published by Cambridge University in April 2023. What is the book? Swami Vivekananda, the Guru of the World. It is not Swami Vivekananda, the Guru of the world. This particular terminology, this particular nomenclature is not used by a Ramakrishnite. It's not used by a monk of Ramakrishna order. It's not used by an admirer or devotee of Ramakrishna order. It is used by one who is not a devotee, so to say, in the ordinary sense of the term, of Ramakrishna order. Now, if we still look ahead, if we go back, well, to 1993, we all know 1893 is very famous in the calendar of human civilization, in the calendar of the modern mankind. Why? Because Swamiji appeared, and the rest of the story is known to all of us. It was in 1993, 100 years have passed, a book was written by a scientist couple in Harvard University. And what it was all about? The name of the book is very, very peculiar. Peculiar in the sense unconventional, strange. What was the name of the book? The Gift Unopened. I think some of you must have read this book, some of you must have heard about this book. I am happy to tell you that this book originally was published by Harvard University in 1993, and then the copyright went to Amazon Publishers, and few days back we have our center at Berkeley has got the copyright of this book, and I have asked them to very soon to transfer this copyright to our Advaita Ashram. And I'm sure after a few months people will get this book published by Advaita Ashram. Now, why I'm speaking about this book? In the introduction of this book, a scientist couple, Mrs. and Mr. Ileonie Osterk, they write that 100 years back, Christ sent us a gift. But we were so casual about it, we did never bother to untie the gift and see what it was all about. It's better late than never. Let us come, untie the red ribbon, open the packet, and see what it is inside. And then when the gift was opened, the gift unopened was gift opened, they saw that gift was Vivekananda, and Vivekananda all the way. And Jesus sent Vivekananda 100 years back, but people were so casual, they didn't look at him. And then in the very first canto, very first chapter, they write, they begin the book, as a matter of fact, with this verse. If Columbus discovered the soil of America, Vivekananda discovered the soul of America. And that's what Vivekananda is today. Vivekananda today, all over the world, in Soviet Russia, in China, in Ukraine, in Romania, in America, Europe, South Africa, everywhere you have lots of Vivekananda within the last 125 years, which is why there is a question in Oxford University today. As a matter of fact, I asked Ruth when she came to me during her research days that, Ruth, how many people in Oxford do know Vivekananda? She told me, Swami, you better ask me how many people in Oxford do not know Vivekananda. Vivekananda is known everywhere. Today, when we see Indian society, we see that after 70s of the 19th century, 20th century, we started being self-sufficient in granaries, in our food supplies, in milk, in nutrition. What is the secret all about? This is again gift of Vivekananda to India. What is that gift? It was that Baron, what is his name? I just forget him. That big baron who came to Swami Vivekananda, he lost his sleep. Rockefeller. So Rockefeller, he lost his sleep. He was the richest baron in the world that time. And he came to Vivekananda for blessing so that he could get back sleep. Vivekananda said, renounce, 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 and you will have sleep. And what Rockefeller did at the inspiration of Vivekananda, Rockefeller did institute an endowment, Rockefeller Scholarship. And Mr. Kurian, the father of White Revolution, M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Green Revolution, both of them were beneficiaries of this Rockefeller Foundation Scholarship. And this is why I say that Vivekananda did not only give us freedom, political freedom. Vivekananda is there to give us freedom in the other fronts, social, economic, also for our women, for the people who will be coming from the marginalized society of the country. Vivekananda visualized a new India. And Vivekananda visualized a new India. What India? Not from Kolkata, certainly not. Not from Bangalore, not from Hyderabad, not even from Delhi or Mumbai. Swamiji was very categorical, very candid and very clear when he said, let new India arise. Arise out of the peasant's cottage. Let new India arise. Arise through the plows of the farmer. Let new India emerge. Emerge from the side of the freeter sailor, from side of the oven of the freeter sailor. Let new India arise. Arise from the house of the scavenger. Let new India arise from the forest, from the hills, from dells, from the markets. This is what Vivekananda wanted. And when we look at today's India, if we have eyes to see, if we have ears to hear, we can very clearly see and we can very clearly hear that Vivekananda's words are coming very increasingly true. Because this is the time when we find that our women have successfully located their area of right and privilege. And they are asserting in the society, they are coming forward in the society, and they are occupying the pillar seat, and they will be occupying pillar seat more and more as times go by. And when we look at the marginalized society, well, marginalized society also is coming up. Today, if we look at the polity of our country, if we look the administrators, political administrators of the country, right from India and throughout its different states, we find that the nomenclature that was used in our Puranas, in our Smritis, to define the people at the bottom, the Sudras. Swamiji had predicted Sudras, who will be established, and Sudras will be ruling the country with their all Sudra qualities. And when we look around, we do not fail to understand how true Swami Vivekananda was. Now, as I have told that this is a divine complicity, how it is divine complicity? You can very well find that Ramakrishna movement is synthesis of few other movements joining together. Ramakrishna sadhana for Bhavatarini sadhana for Ramakrishna. When we find Ramakrishna is going in the evening, one day is past, he is, lying down on the lawn and rubbing his lips against the grasses. Blood is coming out of his lips and says, Mother, another day is lost, but you have not blessed me with your darshan. I have not realized God as yet. This is Ramakrishna's sadhana for Mother Kali. Well, Mother Kali's sadhana for Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna thinks, oh my God, I have not been able to eat. And, I am feeling very hungry. Towards the end of his life, you will find in Kashipur. And then he wanted to eat handa khichuri in his own words. Big bowl, khichuri full of big bowels. Now, mother told, are you not ashamed to think of this? You are eating through the mouths of millions and millions, crores and crores of gods and goddesses from people. And even then you feel tempted to take khichdi. And Sri Ramakrishna comes back to senses. He is divine. He is divinity himself. He is the avatar of Parishtha. Purbe purbe jonmeche kolangshe jar, swayamse dokhineshware eseche ebar. That is what Ramakrishna. And then what we find again? Sri Ramakrishna sadhana for mother. You all know, this is the first time in the history, maybe the last time in the history as well, that this husband calls upon his wife to his room. Husband is the pujari, the worshipper, and his wife is the deity whom he is worshipping. And the deity gets into ecstasy of higher scale, very higher status, very higher stature. And the pujari's sadhana puja is successful. He offers everything of his sadhana at the feet of his wife, and even his japamala, rosaries. Is this not the height of sadhana Ramakrishna did for Holy Mother Sharda Devi? Is there any other example in the annals of spiritual history of the world, say for the last 10,000 or 5,000 years? No, absolutely not. And then again, what do we find? We find that, well, Sharda Devi also is doing sadhana for Ramakrishna. You go to Dakshineshwar, you see the room where she used to stay. A small room. And then again these fishes used to be there above. And then the guest lady devotees, they used to stay with her. And she used to count rosaries to the tune of lakhs and lakhs. When somebody asked his servant in the temple that we have heard that Ramakrishna's wife is here, is she here? The temple servants say, we also have heard she is here, but we have never seen her. And that's the kind of sadhana, and that's why when Sri Ramakrishna's feet is being massaged by Sharda Devi, Sri Ramakrishna, just like a very, very intelligent craftsman, very, very intelligent artist, he asks, does he ask? He asks, have you come here to take me to the world, to drag me to the world? Mother did never miss a single second to answer promptly, no, why should I? I have come here to help you in your path of sadhana. And mother also was no less intelligent. What does mother say? While massaging his feet, mother says, what do you think about me? And then Sri Ramakrishna immediately says that, well, one who is in the form of Bhavatarini being worshipped by me in the temple is being served by me in the form in Nahabat as my mother. The same entity is massaging my feet in the form of Sharda Devi. She didn't forget lose a single moment to equate Sharda Devi with his own mother. Put Sharda Devi in the same bracket with Bhavatarini. And that was the sadhana of Sri Ramakrishna to Sharda Devi and Sharda Devi to Sri Ramakrishna. Then we come to the most important phase of his life. Phase of this movement. What is that important phase? Ramakrishna sadhana for Narendra and Narendra sadhana for Ramakrishna. As I have told that this movement is ordained by the destiny. It is complicity, divine complicity. How is it? If we read the Great Master written by Swami Suparnananda, we find that Suparnananda is very clearly depicting Sri Ramakrishna's declaration. What does he say? Sri Ramakrishna said to Suparnananda and other disciples, well, taking the form of a small boy, I went and went above. And while going, I found a boundary. This boundary, this limit, is not being crossed even by the gods with small g, because they are scared of crossing this boundary. Gradually, this boy crossed that boundary, entered into a ball of illumination, and entered into the ghar, akhanda ghar, in Bengali he says, the zone of undividedness. The undivided zone. I found 7 rishis deeply absorbed in meditation. And then, what happened? Well, this boy went to one of them. The rishi, in the twinkling of an eye, saw this boy, and he could locate that this boy is his chosen ideal. I affectionately clasped the neck of the rishi. I told, I am going to the earth, you follow me. The rishi nodded, and I found something luminary going from his hand to the earth. Now seeing Narendra, I could immediately accost, he is that rishi. And that's why this is a divine complicity. The day Narendranath was born, 1963, 12th of January, in North Calcutta, in Shimla, touching the ground, the newborn babe, touching the ground of Vishwanath Datta's house. Well, at that time, Sri Ramakrishna is standing in the courtyard of Dakshineshwar and declaring that my man Friday has come. My man Friday has come, how could he know? There's a lot of distance communication point of view between Shimla and Dakshineshwar. He saw, when people asked, he saw, I found a streak of light emanating from the body of Lord Vishwanath and touching the ground of the soil, touching the ground in the house of Advocate Vishwanath Datta. And this is what it is. This is divine complicity, which was Vivekananda was brought. Now, he trains Vivekananda. It was in 1884. It was in 1884, month of September. 3-4 people are sitting in the room of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his usual court, and then Vaishnava tenets were being discussed, and somebody told that there are 3 important tenets of Vaishnavism. One is Name Ruchi, second is Jive Daya, and third is Vaishnava Pujan. You must have flair, you must have taste, you must have flair for repeating the names of the Lord. Then you must have compassion to jivas, and when it was told, Sri Ramakrishna cried aloud, what nonsense, what rascal you are that you are telling that you will be doing daya to the jiva, who you are. You can't do daya. You have to say, jive seva, jive puja. Ascharya bhakta kusalasya labdha, ascharya gyata kusalanusishtaha. Wonderful is that disciple. Wonderful is that teacher who speaks it, and more wonderful is the student who hears it and immediately realizes the truth thereof. And such was the disciple who was named as Narendranath, known as Narendranath. J.C. Girish Chandra Ghosh was there, whom Swamiji used to call Narendranath J.C. And then Sharad Maharaj was there. So nobody knows where J.C. could understand Sri Ramakrishna. Nobody either knows whether Sharad could understand Sri Ramakrishna, but one man certainly did understand it, and that was Narendranath. All of the 3 went outside the room of Sri Ramakrishna. Narendranath impressed J.C. and told J.C., today a new vista has opened up before me, and if God gives me an opportunity, I will preach it unto the mankind. And that is what exactly he did. What did he do? This concept he got from Sri Ramakrishna's room in September 1884, Jive Daya no, Jive Seva, Jive Puja. Work is worship. Now, this is conceptualization. And then that requires realization. And when Swami Vivekananda was going throughout India, maybe he was not Vivekananda, he was Bibidishananda. As Atmapriyanandaji has mentioned that he was going to Almora, and 8 kilometers from Almora, what did he find? He found a people tree, tired, fatigued, completely without food for a few days. Bibidishananda sat down in meditation, entered into deep samadhi. And then he says, today I have solved an intricate problem of my life. And that intricate problem is what he says after many years to his disciples in Belur Math. You know Sharat Chandra Chakrabarti, whom he used to say Bengal. Bengal means the people of East Bengal then used to be called Bengal. Bengal, what you say as God, with all this penance, with all this tapacharya, or with all this experience, with all the blessings of God, I have come to the conclusion that this Bhagavan is not there in the temple or any other place, Bhagavan is there in every jiva. Shiva is there in every jiva. But then, due to adhasa, you are not able to feel that you are Shiva. What it is? In Vedanta, they give a beautiful example. That one man, he is going by a road, and that is in jet darkness. And then all of a sudden he finds something, like a serpent. And then he thinks that there must be a venomous snake ahead. He stops many other people who are coming after him. But then one man who is enlightened, he comes and says, "Gentlemen, why you all are hurtling here? What's happened?" No, don't speak aloud. There's a serpent. Then this enlightened man, that intelligent man, he had a torch in his pocket. He lights the torch and finds that this is a rope. And because of ignorance, because of darkness, you were mistaking the rope to be a venomous snake. And this is called adhasa in Vedanta. And this adhasa is dispelled, and you are Christ, you are Ram, you are Krishna. Swamiji says, Tamosi Niranjana. And that is the voyage Vedanta wants you to undertake. That is the voyage Ramakrishna mission, Ramakrishna Mat, the Ramakrishna movement wants you to undertake. And this is why Swamiji says that I will not take leave of this world unless and until a single man or woman in my country, or for that matter throughout the world, doesn't realize that he or she is Brahman. This is the message the Ramakrishna movement has to give. The message is the man who is going by the street, the man who is living in the cottage, the man who is administering the country, the man who is being governed in the country, everyone, Jack, Dick, Tom, Harry, Ram, and Rahim, you are not man. It is ignorant to call you man. You are essentially God. And this is the journey Ramakrishna movement proposes to undertake, and which is why the theme has been very appropriate, theme that has been taken. I am told that the themes are Swamiji's concept of divinity of man, Swamiji's thoughts on practical Vedanta, and the ways to the realization of a universal religion. And then Swamiji conceptualizes, we find, Swamiji realizes, we find, and then conceptualization, realization, but still another chapter, another phase is still left out. What is that phase? That is realization, actualization. Swamiji, we find that in late 90s, is so much seized with that idea. Swamiji has a conflict. Swamiji says, if I do not spread the message, if I do not spread the message will diminish. If I spread it, then I require an organization. In other words, Swamiji somewhere else says, if I found the organization, the message will diminish. If I do not establish the organization, this message will not be spread. And which is why Swamiji, ultimately, Swamiji, after a lot of conflict, he was in America, Mrs. Leon played a host to him, and one day Swamiji was so much seized with this idea. Mrs. Leon asked Swamiji, what has happened to you? So, I have had the greatest temptations of my life, Leon. Leon mistook him, misunderstood him. Mrs. Leon told, what is the name of that fortunate lady? Swamiji smiled a little and told, no, that is not a lady, that is organization. Organization I am seized with. And Swamiji had this organization in the form of Ramakrishna Mission. Swamiji had the organization in the form of Ramakrishna Mat. Ramakrishna Mat and Ramakrishna Mission. Ramakrishna Mission is a society, whereas Ramakrishna Mat is a trust, and both go parallelly, ultimately meeting together in the big ocean called Ramakrishna. And the message is, man, you are not man, divinity of soul. It has 4 tenets. Ramakrishna movement has 4 tenets. Divinity of soul. You may be Ram, you may be Joseph, you may be Rahim, doesn't matter, but you are spiritually, essentially divine. Had I been a householder, had I had a child, immediately after his birth, I would have put him on the cradle and told him, Tamosi Niranjana, you are that. That is the message Vivekananda left for us. And then second, unity of Godhead. We speak of WTO. I think we should have a WRO also. All religions are true. I like one statement of Professor Hosnur Rahman. He is no more now amidst us. Hosnur Rahman, in one of his essays, told beautifully that if somebody asks me that who is the most perfect Muslim during last 200 years, I will say it is Ramakrishna. If somebody asks me who is the most perfect Christian during last 200 years, I will again say it is Ramakrishna. If somebody asks me who is the most perfect Hindu during last 200 years, I will again say it is Ramakrishna. And then Ramakrishna is inclusive, which is why Swami Vivekananda says, India will again rise. India will again rise, but it must sit at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna's eternal call of universal brotherhood, eternal call of inclusiveness, eternal call not only of toleration but acceptance, and on the top of all, eternal call for God realization. Man, you are not man, you are essentially God. You dispel that ignorance, take away that veil, and you will immediately realize that you are the Supreme Brahman. And that is the message Ramakrishna movement has come to give. And this Ramakrishna movement is getting momentum day by day. As on date, we have 326 centers and sub-centers all over the world, spread across 26 major countries of the world. And Ramakrishna Mission or Ramakrishna Math, if they want to affiliate the centers being run by the devotees, I, as the first servant in the organization, you may say, if you like to say, that, I have the privilege of getting across all these developments, which is why I tell you that if tomorrow the Ramakrishna movement wants to affiliate the centers run by the devotees, tomorrow Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission can affiliate 1,000 centers in India and at least half a century of centers abroad in the other countries. So much so that Ramakrishna movement is something which somebody told in Asiatic Society in one of his lectures, I remember, that some religion is aggressive, some religion is proselytizing, but the most dangerous is the religion of Sri Ramakrishna in the modern times because it is infectious. It is dengue. And this is why Ramakrishna Mission awaits you, Ramakrishna Mission awaits me, Ramakrishna movement awaits all of us. And 1500 years Swamiji spoke up regarding Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy. Swamiji spoke of 50 centuries, 5,000 years. I am absolutely sure we have outlived 125 years, and I am absolutely sure during the rest of 13 and 75 years, we shall have the entire world in our palms, in the palms of Ramakrishna movement. And it is confirmed by a very rare vision by Holy Mother when Holy Mother was in the house of Nilambar Mukherjee. Holy Mother once standing just on the bank of the Ganges saw a beautiful vision. Sri Ramakrishna appeared in the Ganges and Sri Ramakrishna marched into the Ganges. And then Swami Vivekananda appeared and Swami Vivekananda was sprinkling Ganges water to the people all through the world and granting them emancipation, liberation. So man, you are not man, you are God. With these few words, I must congratulate the Swami of Culture, Swami Suparnanandaji Maharaj, for selecting and debating and dwelling on these beautiful aspects of Vedanta, namely divinity in man, practical Vedanta. And certainly these two lead to one common goal, which we call universal religion. With these few words, I pray to our Swamiji Maharaj, the general of our militia, to which I am a very, very humble soldier. Sarve sukhino bhavantu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkam apnuat. Let all be happy, let all be free from ailments, let all be blessed with the vision of truth, beauty and goodness, let misery touch none. And this is the spirit of Ramakrishna movement. Thank you so very much.
I thank revered Maharaj for his profoundly enlightening and inspiring address. I request Professor Radharaman Chakrabarti, who has been directing for more than 18 years in this institute, the UNESCO-approved program, International Understanding for Human Unity, to propose the vote of thanks and thus bring the session to a close.
Esteemed trio of the Ramakrishna order, distinguished guests, respected monks, and I should also include the younger friends. Much of the addresses certainly were addressed to the younger generation, and I would expect that they have felt inspired by the presentations. Well, I presume that at the moment, all who are still part of the audience have the same common feeling of some unique satisfaction of having heard these three lectures. Well, where we have been lifted to an unknown region, which Swami Suparnandaji has termed as the Vedantic Society of Freedom. And we have now understood what freedom means. And not only that, well, certain other things also happened. Well, we have been introduced to a different, a completely unknown Swamiji, the master of the sciences, who definitely and very clearly appreciated, even before Einstein, that, well, in any case, science and religion based on spirituality are definitely going to shake hands. It's a very beautiful expression that these two forces are going to shake hands. And I'm also struck by the very interesting expression used by Swami Atmapriyanandaji. But this was the title of his speech, the resonance. And we know what resonance is. A resonance is nothing but, well, echoing in the ordinary sense of the term. Resonance is also reverberating, and I would say resonance also means response. And response happens between two different forces of almost equal gravity, of equal strength. They need not be similar, but they have to be compatible. So that kind of resonance is now happening at both ends. That includes religion on the one hand and science today on the other hand. And since we do not have time, and I do not like to prolong, well, repeating the same ideas, well, I should only end by saying that, well, today's science itself is undergoing an unprecedented transformation. Unprecedented transformation in the sense that the scientists themselves are trying to evolve anew. This is a period where the scientists themselves are trying to, well, evolve anew. In what sense? In the sense that they have come to a point that they understand, well, their method of, scientific investigation, definitely correct, but still, there's something lacking. And you see, the latest news that we have got from the Nobel Award Committee, 3 physicists from 3 different parts of the world, they have tried their utmost to try to measure the frequency of, the speed of the subparticles within the atom. And this is a very difficult task. They have, come to a point where, their man-made instruments are being adjusted to catch the momentum of this kind of change that is happening within the particles. Well, this is not my point. My point is that, this has already been attempted, and the results have been found. And one of the, great lessons that we have learned in the course of this very valuable address is this, that, this is very simple. That the scientific truth is very simple is something that we must keep in mind. And once we have grasped it, I think, the three Maharaj have also opened our eyes to the ability that we have within us, that we can also be scientists. Yes, by using our power that is within us. That is also an expression of divinity. So I should not prolong my ideas. There will be many future occasions when we can meet again and discuss, but you see, we are all indebted to the trio, the unique trio that we have met today, and my very respectful pronouns to them on behalf of, if you call it Thanksgiving, it has automatically come through, the silent attitude of everyone present here. It's Thanksgiving emanating from the whole house. Namaskar.